Welcome back to Cyberology, Dakota State's podcast for all things cyber and technology. I'm Jen, and I'm thrilled to have the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel for DARC, Colonel Stacy Kooistra, here with us today. Welcome, Stacy.
Thanks, Jen. It's nice to be here.
And Stacy brings a vast array of experiences in his role within DARC. He previously served in the Army, in military intelligence, and as an Air Force JAG. He's also the founder and chair of South Dakota Military Heritage Alliance, which is a military veteran nonprofit in Sioux Falls. And if you stick around, you'll get a little trivia on the year he spent in Sweden. And just a heads up, it's not military related, so it will be maybe a surprise. So Stacy, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
All right. Well, thanks again for having me, Jen.
Absolutely.
It's a privilege to be here. I love your sign. It's a good place. So yes, my role, I'm the Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel for DARC. DARC is the Dakota State University Applied Research Corporation, right? And so what I do on a day-to-day basis in an operations role is really everything that it takes from a corporate point of view to stand up the corporation. It's relatively new, and then perform whatever functions that there are to make a young startup technology type company operate. And then in a general counsel point of view, of course, I do the legal work associated with that as well, which deals with a lot of contracts and things like that. So.
And you had experience as legal counsel for the city of Sioux Falls, right?
I did, yep. And so that was actually an outstanding training ground for this, because there's such a diverse array of departments and issues that you deal with that as we look to scale and grow and face those things, it kind of helped me hopefully lay the groundwork effectively to do that.
Awesome. And so can you kind of dive into a little bit about what DARC really is?
Yeah, that's a great question. So DARC, again, the Applied Research Corporation for Dakota State University. We are a nonprofit affiliate of the university. In some ways, I sort of oversimplify it as the business arm of Dakota State University. Now, Dakota State has other aspects and other entities associated with it, but ours is really focused on the cyber applied research area. And so we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're tax exempt by virtue of that affiliation with the university. And so we are a corporation of two. And again, in my operations role, as we put it together, our other employee is our CEO, our Chief Executive Officer, Andrea Thompson. And so my role is really from an operational point of view, to help carry out her vision for taking this new entity and developing it into something special. Awesome.
And as we kind of go a little further, what kind of mission does DARC have? What is the goal of the organization?
Yeah, so really writ large, big picture, very general, it's to bring the cyber industry to South Dakota, right? It's to put great people to work, as I like to say, standing on the shoulders of giants here, the giants here at DSU, which are really the big brains here at DSU, and keep some of those folks here in South Dakota. The people that come out of this university are so capable and come out so technically and in some ways tactically proficient that their services are in demand in a lot of places, which often tends to be the East Coast. And so the idea, the vision, I think, behind this was to keep some of them here in South Dakota as we look to grow the workforce and economic development opportunities in this space here.
Excellent. And what's kind of the vision then of making that happen and kind of bringing together the mission and the goals there?
Yeah. So the vision is really born with Dr. Jose Marie Griffiths, the president of Dakota State University. Speaking of big brains,
right? Yes. No, she's intimidating in all of her accomplishments.
Right. So the idea, the vision that she's driving is one to do exactly what we talked about, right? Take these people and keep some of them here, right? And so as that developed, and the folks that were with her, then Governor Kristi Noem, now of course Secretary Noem, and Senator Mike Rounds, and then on the more governmental side, the But then you have people like Miles Beacom, a DSU alum, Denny Sanford, and then also on the government side, Mayor Paul Tenhaken in the city of Sioux Falls. It's taking that vision that Dr. Griffiths sort of is driving to say, hey, we can do this. And of course, Dr. Griffiths is intimately familiar with the kind of people that are being produced here, right? And the capabilities and the experience. And that stands to benefit not only nationally as we send people out, but here in South Dakota on a number of fronts.
Kind of bringing the opportunities to our students and the occupants of South Dakota already.
Yeah, exactly. If nothing else, it's another opportunity, right? Like we would love to snatch up a bunch of DSU graduates, right? But what we're also thinking about are alumni, people that are out in industry that have experience, because you don't really build or drive an initiative like this on the backs of new graduates, right? You want people who are mid-career, senior level, people that can come in and make a team. Again, doesn't have to be exclusively DSU, but largely DSU-centric to do that kind of work, really with an eye toward our national security.
And kind of bringing in other industry experience as well.
Absolutely, because this is not a university or academic setting. We are a business, right? We're a corporation. We're a nonprofit, doesn't mean non-revenue, so to speak. So what we do want are people who can develop business, who can engage within the industry, that can go out to conferences and out to different meetings, on the coast or wherever, and represent what we're doing here, how Dakota State and how South Dakota really punch above their weight when it comes to size and capability. And so it's important for people to be able to not just be great internally or have great keyboard warriors, but people who can engage and tell the story as well.
Absolutely. And I think something that's really unique about DARC is this public-private partnership and developing, as you mentioned, working with our government officials, working with the city of Sioux Falls, working with some of our alums who are big business names in the area. How important is that in kind of building a community around this initiative?
Yeah, I would say it's crucial. And the reason it's crucial is because it's how you get things done, right? I think on the federal level, people see some of those things happening. You think about the technology space, right? You've got government, you've got industry. Here we've got the people I've mentioned, from Dr. Griffiths to Miles Beacom to all of those folks, to Sanford Health, right? Who's literally donated the land on which the new facility is going to sit. You have the Board of Regents, who is the one entity from a corporate point of view. They're the one member of that entity and appoints the board of directors who hired Andrea as our leader. So it's crucial to be able to marshal the resources and the capabilities of all those different backgrounds. And in South Dakota, when you have one degree of separation often from your elected officials to business and industry, to be able to bring them together, it's just astonishing things can happen. And I'm privileged to be playing a small role in that. So.
And that kind of also benefits everyone then to kind of collaborate in that way to impact economic development and kind of building South Dakota out as a cyber state.
Oh, 100%. And I could tell you in my past life, prior position as city attorney in Sioux Falls, one of the things that we dealt with was hypergrowth, right? Sioux Falls is just growing. And so to be able to bring jobs, right? Because that was always a topic of discussion in any government. How do we bring jobs? But they want to bring the right kind of jobs. And that's where the theme for this effort is one that's sort of universally recognized as great jobs that we want here, because there are second and third order effects to any time you hire someone, right? They get married, they have kids, they're shopping, they're going to schools, all of those types of things. So being able to have those entities not only supportive, but just aligned and communicating is one that we really think that we in South Dakota are pretty doggone good at. And with no disrespect to the coast, we think we can do that much more efficiently.
Excellent. And so you have a variety of services that you'll be offering through DARC and already do. Software development, malware analysis, digital forensics, cybersecurity, workforce development, and penetration testing. How were these categories kind of selected to hone in on? What's the significance and importance of that in the cyber research industry?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I will start by emphasizing I didn't pick them. That is not my lane, right? I'm sort of the lawyer and the operations guy. I think they were chosen, again, part of Dr. Griffith's vision, and Andrea as our CEO, the direction that she thinks that's where the opportunities are, right? The market is there, right? When you look at the needs nationwide, right, and you hear a lot about how many vacancies there are in the cyber industry, right? And it's like, well, what things need to happen? So I think it's kind of market driven, but I also think it's national security driven, right? We're looking at working with the government and with prime contractors and those types of folks. And a lot of them don't have a bench like we have, or they have gaps that we can fill. And so again, going back to the nonprofit doesn't mean non-revenue, right? Those are areas that from a business extension of the university where we're capable, so we have that ability, right? And then there's the need, and that's sort of standard business 101, right? Identify a need, fill the need, and make a profit. And so I think the big brains and the visionaries behind this see those as the areas where we really have opportunity.
Excellent. And can you tell me a little bit about the existing personnel that you already have within DARC and the Applied Research Lab here on Dakota State's campus that will eventually kind of transition to Sioux Falls?
Yeah. Well, and I would note they are here. We have some folks here in Madison. Not all will transition to Sioux Falls. All right, that's one of the great things. Again, in the world of collaboration, is Madison understands and Sioux Falls understands this is a two-community effort, ultimately benefiting the entire state. From a personnel point of view, yes, DARC is our fearless leader, Andrea, and me. So the two of us, we have roughly 10 research engineers that are employed in the Applied Research Lab on campus, right? So they are Dakota State University employees, state of South Dakota employees. They are where the rubber meets the road, right? They're the talent. And what we are looking to do is put them to work and unleash their capabilities and add to their numbers. And so those are the ones that the folks that we're really proud of. We probably don't get enough contact with them because we're so busy doing other things. But we want to, like you said, transition them into the employment, into the employ of DARC. And they in many respects will be our leaders, our culture setters, right? As you look to add to that team. And so we are excited about what they bring to the table, the breadth of their capabilities, many of which, like you mentioned, and again, to continue work with the university to obtain more, hire externally, and do great work. But in the meantime, there's nothing as a matter of law that says you can't have a good time in the process.
Exactly. We appreciate their Hawaiian shirt Wednesdays.
And there's that, right? They have a sense of style.
Yes. Can't resist.
Yes.
So there also is kind of some room for growth. We touched on this earlier, but looking at the potential to employ 400 people, is it, in the new ARL building once it's up and going?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and it touches on the vision, really. I would come back to that because, yes, the facility that broke ground last summer, that's on a construction schedule here for toward the end of 2026, in that fall time frame. Yeah, there's going to be room for approximately 400 research engineers, employees in that facility. Now, again, through the generosity of Denny Sanford and Sanford Health, and particularly the 16 acres of land that sits where that facility sits, this building is really phase one of 3 phases, and each phase is a building.
Okay.
And so the design actually, while they've obviously, they have this one in place, is for 2 comparable size buildings that would be aligned in a nice sort of triangular setup to employ 3 times as many as what we're talking about, while not forgetting we have 20,000 square feet of secure facility and space here in Madison as we look at accrediting facilities and having various contracts in various places to take advantage of both places.
So that'll kind of create like a little mini campus of ARL in Sioux Falls.
Indeed, yep. And it's right side. People can go see it. It's not far off of I-29 south of south of Fleet Farm there.
And can we talk a little bit about who your customers will be? I think there's opportunity to be working with a lot of different organizations, government, military, businesses, industry partners. How does that connect? I think initially when you think education, you don't always think of all the many different ways that you're working with other businesses and organizations, that there will be different contracts. Not everyone will be working on the same thing in that building.
Right. Yep. And that's a good question, because when I started, one of the things that I needed to do from a legal point of view was identify what can be our customers, right? As a nonprofit, as a research park, extension of the university, what work can you do? And the good news is, as long as it's aligned with our mission, we can do all of the above, right? Government and military is particularly important to us, because what we want to do is take these capabilities and advance our national security interests, whether that's in whatever that protective mode looks like. But we are also capable of working with industry partners. Now, sometimes we, especially as a newer organization, we're not going to contract directly with the government on a lot of things. So what we would do is rely on prime contractors or other entities that have those contracts, so that we can fill gaps, we can be a bench. But as we grow, we'll increasingly start looking toward prime contracts. That being said, we also have the ability to engage with civilian entities, right, that are not in the defense space. And so whether you're in other industries like healthcare or banking or finance, whatever the case may be, a lot of the capabilities that we have are sort of industry agnostic, so to speak. Everybody sort of needs those kind of things. And so we're really in a position of not ruling out anything while keeping our eyes on really the mission of our board of directors and the visionaries to say, let's put this to work for the United States.
Absolutely. And can you discuss a little bit about the sensitivity and significance of cyber work? We've kind of discussed that with the importance of national security. Obviously, we're all used to hearing about data breaches and malware or ransomware that takes over healthcare records. How important is this kind of work?
Yeah, well, the sensitivity, it actually triggers a couple thoughts in my mind. One is the security of the relationships and work that we have, right? And I've found that to be interesting, having been in private practice as a lawyer for 13, 14 years, and then being in a government role for the city of Sioux Falls, right? This is a public-private partnership that uses public money and private money. So you want to be transparent, and that's one of our focuses, is those relationships, those partnerships, to say, hey, these are the things that we're doing, but there's also, you hit a point where it's like, well, certain things we can't talk about, right? And some of that may just be contractual stuff. Who are we working with on what projects, right? And then some of it is classified work, right? National security and the cyber
where
realm.
there's an actual concern of information being used inappropriately.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and when the Department of Defense and on the civilian government side, when they classify information, right, they do that on a basis of how much harm it could provide to our country, right? And so, and of course, you go up to from secret to top secret SEI, those levels, those things can only be done in certain places. And thus, an amazing facility in Madison, a facility being built in Sioux Falls, where you're going to have those secure spaces so we can do that work. And the industry has a lot of interest in that, right? Because those aren't falling out of trees, right?
No.
Particularly here in the upper Midwest. And so there's a lot of interest in, hey, when you get a facility, when it's accredited, when you have the government's blessing that you can do that level of work, then they have an interest in doing that. And so we are looking to fill these spaces with employees, with partners, and all those industry type opportunities and governmental opportunities, again, to the benefit of South Dakota and the area. Excellent.
And as you've kind of delved into this role with DARC over the last couple of years, what have you enjoyed most about it, and what are you looking forward to as things continue to develop and expand?
Well, I love the people. First of all, I love working for and with Andrea and Joel Wanutka, the executive director of the lab, and the research engineers. Again, I don't get to see them enough, but getting exposed to Dr. Griffiths and the other partners and the things that are being done here. I left a halfway decent job to do this, right? I kind of voted with my feet. But the reason I did that is because I really believed in the widgets we have to sell, so to speak. And so the opportunity to learn more in an industry at this stage of my career and take hopefully the background that I've had in various areas and sort of marshal it into this area, it's just a really neat thing. I feel really blessed to be able to be working with these people on a cause that will hopefully benefit a lot of people for a long time.
Excellent. And what are kind of your hopes for the next, say, 5 years with DARC?
The next 5 years, it would be to land a ton of contracts, to get moved into the facility that's being built in Sioux Falls, and to get those spaces filled. Back to phase 2 and phase 3, right? We want to be able to get the message out so that people realize what we're capable of doing here at Dakota State, at DARC, in South Dakota, because we believe that will be attractive to a lot of people, so that we can, quite frankly, break ground on the second building and just keep going. And I hope over the next, to take your question one step further, over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, to be like, okay, where's the next space, right? This is working.
We've outgrown what we have.
Yeah, exactly. And some would say that's a little pie in the sky. But, again, from Andrea and her vision and Dr. Griffiths, they're not in those roles because they're shy or they're hesitant to believe in what's happening here. And I'm coming right along for the ride and doing what I can to support them in this university and the state and our communities. And so, yeah, it's a neat opportunity for sure.
And I'll throw a little curveball in there for you. How significant is it also, if you think about a lot of these jobs being located on the East Coast, the cost of living is very different in South Dakota than the East Coast. There's a different lifestyle as well. You could argue a little less maybe rushed. What's the significance and importance of creating, this opportunity here, homegrown in South Dakota?
Yeah, I'll start with Andrea as an example. So, because she was in Arlington, Virginia, Old Town, and her commute went from about 45 minutes to an hour a day to 4 minutes. So when she first got here, she was showing up 15 minutes early to every meeting because she mentally was planning for a much longer commute, right? I will secondly use Joel Wanutka, the executive director of the lab, as what I like to say is Exhibit A. He was out in Maryland. He worked at NSA at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, and he got married and he started having kids and he wanted to come back to the quality of life here. And so we have value propositions that we present to potential partners, and it includes upper Midwest rates, excellent facilities, but quality of life is one that really we don't think can be beaten. Now, you talk to somebody from somewhere else, they may not find this, particularly in January and February, to be the most ideal place for them to live. But we're upper Midwest based. This university produces a lot of great people from this area, and we want to bring them back. And I was just speaking with somebody the other day, and they made significantly less money moving back here. But what they found is the average was about $1,000 more per month in disposable income because the cost of living is so much more reasonable. And so we do feel like that's one of the strategic advantages that we have. And I often say that people go into this line of work for the mission, right? And because they want to do well. They want to be compensated well and all that, like we all do. But this effort adds a third component, which is geography, which is South Dakota and the opportunity to live here and raise a family in a really great area. So.
Okay. And is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think is important to highlight?
I don't think so. I think you had a lot of good questions that covered a lot of ground. I think a big thing for us is communicating. We're very proud of Dakota State here and what we're doing with DARC, but we're not well known elsewhere. And so one of the things I would ask if somebody has an interest in DARC, or to reach out. We're on LinkedIn and website and all that kind of stuff. But people who are also out, maybe alumni who may find this interesting. Obviously we have an interest in them at some point as we scale and grow, but also as they are working in the industry, right? I mean, there are hundreds literally hundreds of DSU graduates doing this kind of work already, and we are looking for those partnerships. And so we would love to talk to them, to their business development people, because we are right now in the business of developing business.
Yep.
And so we hope to continue to gain traction as we get the word out, and on all these fronts, press forward in a way that's a win, hopefully for everybody.
Perfect. And so let's kind of wrap this up. What did you spend a year doing in Sweden?
I played basketball. So I had the opportunity coming out of college to play professionally. In Sweden, which was a great opportunity on a number of fronts. One, it gave me a chance to see the country and travel, but I met my wife there.
Oh, wow.
And so my wife is Swedish, and so our 4 kids are actually Swedish Americans. They're dual citizens.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that 1 year, which was enough.
Changed your life, though.
It did. Every day. It did. And so I was ready to do something different after basketball. It was a neat opportunity, and you can play a long time out there if you know how to navigate it. But it was time to come home, and then I joined the Army, which was a little counterintuitive. But it's all worked out pretty well, and land me the privilege of sitting here with you today.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much for being my guest today. We'll definitely have to have you back
indeed.
And get some updates as we continue hearing about all the good things coming out of DARC.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe.